Hey everyone, welcome to Coaching Changes Lives. So glad you can join us. In this week, we're going to talk about wisdom from the East. We're going to continue our series that every single week we come to you fresh with new ideas, new concepts that we draw from different parts of the world and to share with you some insights that can really help you expand your awareness about different philosophies, different cultures, and different learnings that we can glean and help us become a better conversationalist. Now, if you're new to our channel, do remember to consider hit the subscribe button and notification bell to stay tuned with the latest updates and latest videos that really teach you to become a better communicator. Whether you're a teacher, speaker, a leader, consultant, a coach, this will truly help you. Now, following from our last series, this week we're going to look at one special word, and the word is this. It's called 一登龙门身价十倍. 一登龙门身价十倍. Now, what is that about? What on earth is that? Well, this is a really, really interesting thing, right? In the Chinese words, in the Chinese idioms, oftentimes it's what we call pictographic words. And it's more than just pictographic, there's meanings behind a pictogram. So every single word has a metaphor, has an allegory, has a story to present to the audience and listeners something deeper than what is surface. So the first word is called yi. Yi means one. Shen means to ascend, to mount on, to go over, to mount on, to ascend. Then long is a dragon. Men, it's a door, it's a gate, it's something that it's an obstacle that we cross over. So usually men means it's a door, a gateway. Shen, it's the body. Shen jia, when you put shen jia together, that's prestige, status. 十倍means 10 folds. There's not 10x, it's 10 folds. Today we talk about 10x, in your life and everything, but that's just 10 times. When we say 十倍 means 10 folds. That's literally 10 folds. 10 to the power of 10. Amazing. Now, so what on earth is this idiom trying to teach us? Well, essentially, this is what it is saying, right? If you look at it from the literal sense and the pictographic sense, we're going to break it down to really help you glean from this. So let's take a look at this. 一登龙门身价十倍 means by ascending the dragon's gate, prestige rises tenfold. By ascending the dragon's gate, prestige rises tenfold. What on earth is that? Well, this is what it says, right? Traditionally in ancient Chinese, the diligent study, the one who diligent studies, the scholars, they often have to overcome really great barriers to really studying, to preparing. So those hurdles seem like an impossible gate. So, however, with diligent study, diligent practice will bring great rewards. Because the Dragon's Gate, it's a dangerous gorge on the Yellow River. It's really dangerous to cross over. But the success in imperial examinations was likened to that of a dragon ascending the gorge, going over and ascending the gorge, passing the examinations greatly, and it adds to the prestige of the individual. By prestige, it's not just means wealth for the person, but also adds to the status of the person. So what do we mean by that? How does that apply to us? When we learn about this notion that the Dragon's Gate, to cross the Dragon's Gate, it's not easy. It's like an impossible task. So think about this: in our lives, are there tasks that seem impossible? Well, there's one. What we call our fundamental core skill. Our fundamental core skill. Too often, I've seen these coaches come to me, consultants, leaders, trainers, speakers, youth, facilitators. They say, hey, what's the latest skill? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? So coaches often does this one thing. They'll often go to the shiny red object or the next unicorn. They say, oh, wow, this is what coaching is now. Let's go there. That's performance coaching. Let's go there. Let's team coaching. Let's go there. Narrative coaching. Let's go there. Ontological coaching. Let's go there. So they get drawn in all directions, never quite understanding the competence it requires as a coach, never quite understanding the core competency as a coach. Many people say, oh, the core competency, I know about that, it's the 11, the 8 competencies, it's basic, it's for the basic coach. Now, when you hear something like that, you know that the person has not taken the practice seriously. The person has not really, truly understand it seriously, because the master is someone who realizes that he has not arrived at a certain place, but he realizes that he needs to relearn, unlearn, and learn again and again and again. Just like today, I've met many master certified coaches around the world, and I encourage them. I said, hey guys, we got to relearn fundamental, ask ourselves the deeper questions. How do we become better as a person first before becoming a coach? Whoever you are, whatever your profession is, your profession always comes from the person. Your profession. So the person is first before the profession. Not the profession maketh the person, but the person maketh the profession. In this process, one of the greatest challenge in the coaching journey, in one of the greatest challenge as a conversationalist, as a communicator, the greatest challenge is to become better at conversations. When we go through our lives as a child, as a youth, going through the series of examinations in school, we learn about English, we learn about math, we learn about science, geography. But one of the things that we forget to learn is the ability to communicate with another human being. And more so, the ability to communicate with ourselves. How many of you have spoken to yourself? How many of you are consciously aware of how you're speaking to yourself and consciously improving the way you're speaking to yourself? And many of us are not able to do that. Why is that so? Because too often, we think of many different thoughts that's not possible. We think that, oh, that's simple. Listening is a simple skill. Listening is not a simple skill. Listening is a skill that must be practiced on an ongoing basis to really get good at it. Because it's true. In relationships, the number one failure of relationships is because parties are not listening. They are listening with one ear, but they're not listening with their hearts. They're listening with their hearts, but not listening with their souls. They're not fully listening. They're not shemaing. And what is that important? Because for you to be able to craft comments, questions, it all begins with the ability to listen. But before listening can happen, the person must begin to be in the moment, to be conscious about things that's around him, to be aware of where he is right now. So this notion of practice, the impossible task, this notion of overcoming obstacles and odds, really it's the duty of the student. So when we look at this idiom, it reminds us that in the imperial times, scholars really struggled their whole life just to pass this one exam. Now if they fail, their whole life is gone. They have to pass this one exam, so their skill they have to practice again and again and again and again. And it seems almost impossible. It seems like an impossible task. And one of the things for us as coaches, as leaders, as speakers as well, it's that what is that impossible task? Which is sometimes it's your core skills. And how many of you have actually revisited your core skills again? How many of you actually have placed diligent effort to practice your core skills again and again and again? It is once said by Bruce Lee, I'm not afraid of a person with 1,000 different kicks, but I'm more afraid of a person who practices a singular kick or maybe one or two kicks 1,000 different times. In the same way, we look at great performing athletes. What do? They go back to the fundamentals again and again and again. My secret to all of us here as coaches, as leaders, as speakers is this. When was the last time we revisited our fundamentals and get good at our fundamentals again and again and again? Even if we're great at it, how do we unlearn that and become even better? Now, this impossibility task to cross the gorge, it's a dangerous task. Why is it a dangerous task? Because the danger comes is when we think that we are good. The danger comes is when we think we can cross the gorge because it looks simple, it sounds simple, it feels easy. I've been coaching for the last 20 years, it's going to be easy. I've been speaking for the last 10 years, there's nothing new about this conference. When we have that kind of attitude, we are in a serious, dangerous problem. For example, I've heard so often that coaches say this to themselves, right? Say, hey, I've done it before. I helped 10 of such clients before, so I can help you. Now, that notion of helping 10 people before and being helped this person in front of you, it's a fallacious statement because every single person on planet Earth is unique. Even if the situation sounds very similar to hundreds and thousands of people you've helped with, that person in front of you there, it's a unique person. He or she or they are unique individuals by themselves. So as a coach, as a leader, as a speaker, what we want to do is one thing, going back to the fundamentals and revisiting them and say this to ourselves, that, hey, to cross that gate, to cross that gateway, the impossibility gateway, the first step is to really look at our practice. Have we practiced enough? Have we overcome that? And when that happens, and when we are able to ascend and over the impossible mountains, over the impossible hurdles, that's when beauty is there. That's when the prestige is there, and the prestige gets tenfold. Now, what do we mean by prestige? Prestige is not for self-glory. Prestige is for us to realize that, hey, when we thought we arrived, no, we realize that we are just at the beginning again. Too often, coaches, when they receive their credentials, when they're awarded a professional certified coach or master certified coach, they thought they've arrived. No, in fact, your journey has just begun. The day you think you've arrived will be your greatest downfall. And that's why crossing the gorge, the Yellow River, sometimes is one of the most scary tasks ever because you thought it's just a straight path. But no. Sometimes there will be a downward spiral that will suck you down the river. Sometimes there will be a sudden rapid rush in different directions as well, which you cannot anticipate. So one of the great challenges that we encourage speakers and coaches to do is this: go back to the first thing. Go back to your fundamental things. Now, that is from the coach's point of view. What about from the client's point of view? Now, this is how we help our clients. Helping our clients to see, what they see is that in front of them, it's a dangerous river. They're seeing the dangerous river. They're seeing the impossible river to climb. How are we going to climb that? Well, because they thought that the way to cross the river, it's true, climb over the river or to find a boat across the river. But they forget that there are other alternatives to cross the river. The notion of the dragon is a mystical creature. It's one that says, hey, the dragons used to be able to fly and ascend across, going beyond. So what we thought was a traditional mode of transportation from one point to another point, now we begin to realize, hey, perhaps there are other ways to ascend there. Perhaps there are other ways for us to overcome that. Perhaps there are other ways we can circumnavigate the current situation at hand. Too often we are blinded because we're seeing this pathway as the only pathway forward, but not realizing that there are other multiple possible pathways forward. Now, if we could help our clients to see, hey, going through this dangerous path, it's only, going by the boat, it's only but one. We could consider other pathways. What other pathways can you consider? Thereby expanding the options for them. Now, when they can see that for them, now they're ready to ascend up and over. When they're able to ascend up and over, the challenge is this. Too often, many of them give up before crossing. They gave up before pushing through. They give up before, pressing through. We always tell our clients this. Press on towards the goal and reach for the prize. And one of the challenges is when we press on towards the goal, there will be pain. There will be times you ask yourself, am I on the right track? Am I on this journey rightly? Or should I try a different gate because this gate seems impossible? It's not possible to ascend. I've tried 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Right, my business is still at this level. I wonder if I can cross the next level because when I'm watching YouTube, when I'm watching other videos, people are saying, "Wow, I'm able to 10x my business here, 10x my business there." But I'm looking at myself. I've been in this business 5, 10 years. I'm not seeing the growth. My challenge to you is this. Stop looking at other people, start looking at your own race. Stop comparing yourself with others, start comparing yourself with yourself. You are racing your own race. The winner has no time to look left and right. The winner is looking at their own path and running their own race. So this is what I tell people. I have many competitors in my field. One of the things that Coaching Changes Lives does is that we provide high quality training for all coaches from across the world. And oftentimes you have competitors that try to copy us, that try to mimic us, and try to follow certain things that we do. And when I see that happen, I am so happy. I want them to copy me. I want them to follow me. Guess what? Because now I'm a leader. I'm leading the field. I'm revolutionizing the way coaching is being conducted, is being taught around the world. And I'm great at it. Now, what competitors thought was this. They think that they're competing against me. They think that I'm a competitor of them, which is great. Right? They can think that way. But for me and my house, for me and the team here in Coaching Jesus Lives, we are not in any competitions with them. We are running our own race. I don't see them as competitors. In fact, I see them as partners, as learners together. Let's grow together. We see this happening all the time in the coaching community as well. That coaches, after graduating from coaching schools, all of a sudden they become enemies of each other. Rather than collaborating with each other, they see themselves as competitors. Now, today I encourage you to see this. To cross that river, sometimes you cannot do it by yourself. Sometimes it's better that you come in a team. Because today, together, everyone can achieve more. Everyone can achieve much. Everyone can achieve much more than what we can imagine and thought possible. So my encouragement to all of us is this. Forget about the prestige of self. Think about the prestige of many. Think about the prestige of your team. I'm very proud of the team that we have here at Coaching Changes Lives, all the coaches that we have, because the coaches are truly transforming life. First, experiencing life in themselves, and then being able to make impact in people's life as well. So there you have wisdom from the East. So much nuggets of truth that we can draw from this particular idiom today. And I love it so much that we can share all those different insights as well. And coming from Singapore, where we are not. We are somewhere in the middle or somewhere at the bottom of Southeast Asia. One of the key strategic things that we have here in Singapore is that we are an island nation. We are small islands surrounded by waters all around us. To the north, it's a different country. To the south, it's a different country. But what we know is this: that because of the impossibility to survive, how can we make a name for ourselves? How can we thrive in uncertainty? How can we overcome in just a short 50 years? Singapore was able to demonstrate that its nation was just as strong as many of the developed countries around the world. So my challenge to all of us listening to this video is this: what are we going to do today? How are we going to get back to the fundamentals? How are we going to challenge ourselves to get better each single day? How are we going to overcome the odds, the obstacles that's in front of us? The pandemic is happening all around us, and we don't know what's next ahead. But how do we get ourselves ready for it? How do we see that? How do we ascend? How do we see new possibilities? How do we see new modes of transportation across all those hurdles? At the end, what is waiting for us? It's the tenfold increase. We're putting all the things in place for the tenfold increase. Never despise the days of small beginnings, because those days of small beginnings will be the greatest days ever. Because the day when you realize that, oh, it's because of me, myself, I've arrived this, will be your greatest downfall. Because before, pride always comes before failure. The day when you start seeing a leader, a coach being very proudful, full of pride, full of ego, would be the day of the greatest downfall. We've seen that all through leadership case studies. We can see that through many different organizations as well. Before any fall comes pride. My encouragement to all coaches, leaders, communicators out there, always be humble to learn. Always be in a position of humility to learn. I'm always learning from my coaches, my students. I'm learning from everyone. I'm learning from my clients. People think that coaching, it's about us coaching someone, but no. In the coaching conversation, your clients are also teaching you something. What are they teaching you today? What can you teach me today? So my challenge to you as coaches and leaders and speakers out there is to think about what this idiom is to you, and how can you use them for your own conversation today. Well, so if this encouraged you, do remember consider hitting the thumbs up and share this with your friend and spread the news of coaching changes lives, because coaching one conversation at a time will truly impact and make a difference in people's life as well. So until next time, this is Jedi here at Coaching Changes Lives. I see you in our next video.